For years, there were visions that haunted me. Headless statues, a giant monster that could swallow me whole, a green moose. It took me a while to figure out where all these horrific nightmares were coming from. And then I realized they were all connected to a single event, a movie I watched when I had the chicken pox. And that movie was Return to Oz. This film, directed by Walter Murch, stars Fairuza Balk as a young Dorothy. Which, by the way, although the title suggests that this film is a sequel to the first, you can go ahead and throw that idea right out the window, because it's not. Not only is Dorothy younger in this film than she was in the Judy Garland classic, but the designs and lore surrounding Oz are also quite different. So click your ruby slippers together and let's get to Oz. Our film opens with Dorothy having a bedtime existential crisis. While collecting eggs, Dorothy and her chicken discover a suspicious key that she realizes is from Oz.
Did you lay an egg this morning, Bellina? Oh. See. Oz.
Troubled by Dorothy's distaste for chores and vivid childlike imagination, Auntie Em decides to take the little girl into town to the local asylum.
And then you're no help to me in the morning.
The Tin Woodsman used to be made of flesh, and he kept on cutting off all the other parts of his body.
Once there, the doctor explains the non-invasive, foolproof treatment plan he has for her.
I know just the thing to cheer Dorothy up. It just manages electrical current. Now we have the means to control these excess currents.
Seeing that she's in good hands, Auntie Em leaves her behind and goes back to the farm.
Here's your lunch pail. Do everything the doctor and the head nurse tell you.
The minute she leaves, the sweet staff sees that Dorothy is warmly accommodated.
You won't need that.
You may have a nap if you wish.
While Dorothy tries to find a way out of her predicament, another little girl appears and helps her escape.
Hello, Dorothy.
What are those?
We'll draw all those unpleasant dreams out of your head.
Quick! We have to get you out of here.
But after getting outside, a storm hits and she's swept away into the river. She wakes up in Oz and sees that Bellina is here for some reason and suddenly has a lot to say.
What's that?
Oh, I was just trying to lay my egg, that's all.
Bellina? When did you learn to talk anyway? Oz.
Before they can move on, though, Dorothy realizes that they're in the deadly desert, and stepping on the sand can kill them. She carries Bellina and hops from rock to rock, but they don't seem too happy about it.
Then this is the deadly desert. Anything living that touches it turns to sand. Let's see if we can find something to eat for breakfast, Bellina.
That's because they're actually minions of the Gnome King and his smooth, sweet voice.
Your Majesty!
What is it?
After finding the yellow brick road in disrepair, she makes a beeline for the Emerald City and finds things there are just as bad.
Oh, Tin Woodsman, what happened to you? Oh, cowardly lion.
While she mourns her friends and looks for answers, she's greeted by a friendly local.
Come here, chicken!
She's chased by a rabid pack of wheelie boys into an alley, and she quickly realizes that this is what the key was for all along. Once inside, she finds a clockwork soldier and she uses it to fight off the naughty wheelie boys.
The Royal Army of Oz. Patented clockwork mechanical man. Does everything but live. After winning the fight, they take one of the wheelie boys hostage and juice him for sweet, sweet intel.
Come here, you little...
Where's the Scarecrow? And what's happened to the Emerald City?
The Gnome King! Yeah, he turned everyone to stone. There's only one person that knows where the Scarecrow is. Princess Mumby!
They're led to a palace where a beautiful princess is going to town on some strings.
Let me go!
All right, TikTok, let him go.
Behave yourself.
I think I'll put on something more appropriate.
Dorothy asks about her friends, and Princess Mombi leads her down the horror hallway and tells her what's been going down in Oztown.
What do you think? The Gnome King took the Scarecrow and all the emeralds back to his mountain.
But just when Dorothy thinks that the princess is going to help them, Mombi informs her that she has other plans.
Different from my other heads. I believe I'll lock you in the tower for a few years till your head is ready.
When Dorothy refuses to be Mombi's hot new accessory, she gets locked in the tower where she finds a new friend and a beautiful reminder of a lost comrade.
I believe you will not.
You won't think I have a new statue.
She and her friends devise a simple and unholy plan to escape their predicament that goes a little something like this. Dorothy plans to slip into Mombi's room and steal the key to her original head cabinet, where she keeps a special powder that can bring inanimate objects to life. Meanwhile, her friends are putting together furniture, plants, and a mounted head from the wall to create a monstrosity upon which they will fly away. While Dorothy's minions are preparing for their fiendish forging of new life, she goes downstairs to get the powder. But first, she has to steal the key to the cabinet it's in from Mombi's headless body that can snore for some reason.
The head of a gump. That is right, Jack. Left, right, wrong.
When Dorothy opens the cabinet and nabs the powder, she knocks something over and wakes up Mombi's original head, eliciting such a horrifying scream her headless body wakes up and also starts screaming.
Dorothy girl!
Dorothy runs back upstairs where she and her minions awaken the unholy couch angel they built and fly away just before Mombi can get them.
Make sure you do the head so we can see where it's going.
Peog!
Peog?
Boy, am I glad I've never been that angry. It's garbage! No! No! It's garbage! Everything is garbage! It's horrible! Get away from me! It's garbage! No!
But it's fine.
It's garbage! It's not garbage, it's the opposite. Where's the whole salt? I need to take a bath. During the flight, Jack loses his head and their ultra-secure freak of furniture starts to literally come apart at the seams, and they all crash land in the mountains, which is conveniently where they needed to go anyway.
Somebody help! The Gnome King's mountain.
While the gang debates putting the disturbingly still alive Gump head on the couch so it can walk, the Gnome King and his rock minion are intimidated by Dorothy's show of force.
I'm much happier just being ahead, thank you.
I think we should tie him back on the sofa. Then at least he could walk.
Now, she is on our mountain with a small army.
She is more powerful than I thought.
There's no sign of the chicken.
But when he gets a closer look at Dorothy's army, he laughs so hard that the ground opens up and she falls into his lair.
So if someone steals something, you think the right thing is for them to give it back. And what if they don't want to?
When we are here with our army to conquer you.
Mom, why is he laughing?
After her friends follow her in, each of them, from least important character to most, has to play the Gnome King's game in order to try and save the Scarecrow and restore the Emerald City to its former glory.
If you touch the right object and say the word Oz, the Scarecrow will be restored. Why doesn't the sofa go first?
I should have quit when I was ahead.
But there's a catch. Whenever they fail, they also become trapped and their friends have to save them as well. And, with each failure, the Gnome King becomes more and more human. This is all signaled by a subtle sound cue for Dorothy and the audience's sake.
Where's the gown?
He failed is become part of my collection.
Before it's her turn, the Gnome King tries to tempt Dorothy with high fashion and amnesia to keep her from playing his game.
You didn't come back for these.
My ruby slipper!
No, they're very powerful.
I can use the ruby slippers and send you home. And when you get back, you'll never think of Oz again.
Dorothy Gale, you're all that's left.
After Dorothy heads in to take her turn at guessing, Mombi arrives in her Wheelie Boy sleigh and asks the king why he's playing a game with Dorothy instead of getting rid of the rowdy bunch, and he gives her a rock-solid answer. Meanwhile, Dorothy is distracted by all the shinies in the room and closes her eyes to help her chances.
Stop! Tell him it's important. Why didn't you just transform them all right away?
It's more fun this way.
She tries her luck with the emerald she found, and we finally get a good look at the Scarecrow's kindly face.
Oz!
Dorothy!
With his help, she finds one of her other friends, and even the Scarecrow seems a little disturbed by his appearance.
Maybe people from Oz turn into green ornaments.
It's green!
Oz! Oh, it's you, the ghost!
The Gnome King realizes that Dorothy figured out the secret to his game, and after locking Mombi in a cage for her incompetence, he goes to the treasure room to have a chat with her.
I'll take care of you later.
Scarecrow finds another one of her friends, and their shoddy craftsmanship finally comes in handy. When Dorothy and her friends try to run away, the Gnome King sends his adorable army of gnomes after them. With nowhere to run, the Gnome King tries to eat Jack, but stops when he hears Bellina, who's been hiding in Jack's empty dome. Instead of putting them down and away from his gaping maw, he lets her do the one thing that can defeat him.
Poison to gnomes.
Before the hellish nightmarescape collapses and buries them, Dorothy nabs the ruby slippers and wishes for Oz to be returned to the way it was, saving everyone who was turned to stone and undecapitating Mombi's victims. During the victory party, Ozma, the true Queen of Oz, a person referred to only a handful of times before in the movie, returns through a mirror, and Jack is the happiest of all to see her.
Mom! My real mom!
Dorothy asks to be returned to Kansas, and after agreeing to some harsh conditions, she wakes up back home just the way she wanted, cold, wet, and filthy on a riverbank.
Wish me back to Kansas.
On one condition, I will look in on you from time to time.
Goodbye, Dorothy.
You're not coming back, Bellina?
Not to that stupid humdrum world again.
Toto finds her and Auntie Em fills her in on what happened to the Institute.
Clinic was hit by lightning and it burned to the ground. Everybody was rescued except Dr. Worley. He ran in to rescue his machines.
We then see the doctor's assistant being hauled away by the police without any explanation as to why she's in custody. Back Back at home, Dorothy checks in on Ozma and Bellina. After her enchanting conversation with Ozma, Dorothy goes outside to play with Toto, bringing our film to a close. When I first saw this film, I was 4 and had the chicken pox. I'd always assumed that I thought it was so scary because of my age and the fever. I thought, oh, this'll be a cakewalk. It's a movie for little babies. And I've watched plenty of horror movies since then. Needless to say, I was wrong. What the heck, Disney? This movie is for kids, and it's one of the scariest things I've ever seen. On top of that, the main lesson you learn from Dorothy is that if you don't like something, everything will be better for you if you just run away and fall into danger. Auntie Em suddenly didn't care about the issues she had with Dorothy in the beginning, and even if she did, the asylum burned down, killing the doctor inside. And why was his assistant arrested if the fire was started by lightning? What did the police find in there that was so incriminating? And why does everyone's head fall off? One thing's for sure, this ain't no movie for little babies. That being said, there were some pretty choice effects. I hope this review was as much a dream for you as it was a nightmare for me to do. Thanks for watching.
This is for you.